Hi guys, this is Taylor with Bazzudio. I just wanted to create a little video for you. Happy 4th of July. I was gonna show you how to create a quick painting of fireworks. You may have some downtime, you might have some art supplies that you never touch. The kids might be out of school. Regardless, this is something that should only take about 30 minutes to an hour depending, and I think it's a lot of fun, so I hope you really enjoy this quick tutorial. So first, let's talk about what you're gonna need to actually get started. So if you're working on a painting or a canvas that's about this size, you're gonna need smaller brushes because we don't have as much surface area to cover. So if you're doing a small, I think this is like a 12 by 12, you're gonna need 3 or 4 brushes. I have a big brush, I have a medium brush, and then I have 2 small brushes. If you're gonna do something larger, you may wanna just upgrade the size of the brush in general. So in terms of the paint, we're only gonna use a few colors. You're gonna need white, and you wanna make sure that you have titanium white, not zinc white. You're gonna need black. You're gonna need yellow. You're gonna need a royal blue, and you're gonna need a red. So really all you need are the primary colors plus a white and a black. For me, because I have so much paint at my disposal, I decided I would choose a couple more to, really zing it up, and that's totally up to you. So I've got an iridescent and I've got a light blue that I'm gonna factor in. So the first step of this painting is going to be to make sure that you cover the entire background in black, just straight black. I went ahead and already did this because the key factor in moving forward once your background is black is to make sure that that acrylic paint is bone dry. So just for the sake of time, I went ahead and prepped the canvas today. If you touch it lightly on the edges and it's a little bit tacky, it's still not ready. We're gonna be using some really vibrant colors over this, and we don't want it to look muddy. So make sure that you factor in a little bit of time to make sure that that canvas totally dries. So we're ready to start painting. There's a couple things that we need to keep in mind right before we get started. Acrylic paint does not come out of clothing. So I put a smock on, make sure that you put on an old t-shirt, or if you're doing this with the kids, make sure that they're wearing the grubby clothes. Next, you're gonna set up your palette. So I went ahead and did this. You're just gonna squeeze the paint onto the palette. I like to separate it with the warm colors on one side plus my white, and then my cooler colors on this side plus my black. That's just so that we don't have any crossover. As you probably remember from elementary school, a blue and a yellow make a green. So if we want bright yellow fireworks, we definitely don't want to get any blue in there. Also, before you get started, make sure that you have access to fresh water to clean your brushes. These brushes dry really fast, acrylic paint dries really fast, and you don't want to ruin your brushes. First thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna grab your big brush, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna paint in kind of a horizon line. These fireworks are gonna be popping out of the mountains and over some water. So I'm going to take my dark blue, and I'm gonna mix in just a little tiny bit of that black because it's like a night sky. And I'm gonna make sure that I really load up my big brush with that. And then I'm gonna come in and I'm going to just create a rough horizon line. The next thing is you're going to blend that blue up into that black. You don't need a ton of paint for this. And you're just going to go at it. So I like to pull the color up around the edges predominantly. Just imagine you're actually looking out and you can see that horizon. It's very, very subtle, but you'll see in the end, it makes a huge difference. So I'm realizing that this is a little bit hard to see. So I want to punch it up, and so I'm going to pull a little bit of my white, just a little tiny bit, and I'm going to pull it into my black, and we're going to go in and we're going to emphasize those mountains just a little bit by coming in with that edge of your brush, still using your big brush, and just pulling it down. And see, that kind of gives the illusion that there might be some snow up there, although we know that there's no snow up there right now. But in the end, it gives you more of that mountain feel. And I'm a big blender, so I'm going to take a little bit more black and I'm going to blend it up just so that I get that opacity. So I'm gonna bring it up a little closer. I hope you can see it. We've got our sky, our mountains, and our water. It's time to get pretty jazzy, so I hope that you follow along. We're gonna keep with that same white, pulling it into the black, and we're gonna start adding in some highlights. So I'm gonna add one over here. I'm gonna add one over here. I'm gonna add one in the middle. And I'm gonna come down, and that's gonna kind of basically like be the template for our water. And then maybe a little bit over here. A little bit over here. Just remember, we're trying to do a night sky here. Okay, so that's done. We're gonna take our big brush and we're gonna put it back in the water. So what I just did is I really saturated it. If you can see, it's dripping right now. I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna mix it with my white right there. And I'm going to get it so that it's like the consistency of ink almost. And I'm gonna really load up that brush. I'm gonna do a test. We're gonna do a flicking technique to create stars. So once I see that my consistency is really flicking, we're gonna start adding some stars. So I'm gonna come in. And keep in mind, we're gonna have fireworks over these, so we're really looking for the smaller splatters, not kind of what I did here, but those will be covered up in the end. So I'm gonna keep flicking. And sometimes it's actually easier to do this with it down on a tabletop so that you can just drip. So as you can see, I've created kind of a starry night feel. And don't worry if you get these big blobs. Like I said, it's paint, and so we can always fix it or paint over it. For the rest of our tutorial, I decided to zoom in. I just want to make sure that you can see the painting. So I hope that you don't mind. We're going to move on to the next step. I'm going to start adding in some highlights and a little bit of color into the water for those fireworks. So I'm going to take my medium-sized brush and I'm going to pull in just straight yellow. And right in the middle, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a highlight. And then really what we're concerned about most is coming down into that water. So I'm taking the edge of the brush and I'm just adding these bits of yellow, and those are going to be the reflection of our fireworks. So you're just going to come right down the middle. And think of it as a V, because back here where the mountains are, where the fireworks are going off, they're bigger, and we're just getting the, as we get further away, we don't see as much of a shadow. I'm going to pull in a little bit of white. And mix it on the canvas with my yellow. And this is where you can really use some creativity, go wild. Okay. So now we're going to take that same medium-sized brush, and with the edge, I'm going to send some shooters up into the sky. And where these end is approximately where those big fireworks are going to appear. Okay. So this is where we really go fast, and this is where your creativity is totally, this is your painting from this point forward. So we're gonna start adding in the fireworks. Again, with that medium-sized brush, we're just gonna add like basically an outline for where we want. So I'm gonna start with a yellow firework, since that's what I'm working on right now. I'm gonna take that big brush, or medium brush, and I'm gonna load it up. And I'm just gonna add the spokes. And we're gonna start adding some volume. And notice I'm pulling in white here and there. So there's my first big old firework. So now I'm going to clean this brush and I'm going to move on to a new color. Well, I'm going to try to wrap on a bunch of different steps into one. I've switched to my small brush and I'm going to go with a white firework or a red firework. Now I'm pulling in multiple colors on my brush because, as you will see, as long as I don't mix them together, it's going to give me some diversity in my pull. So I'll start right over here. And you see I'm getting a little bit of yellow in there. And if I have a red firework in the sky, that means I'm gonna have a little bit of red in the water. So while I've got this on my brush, I'm gonna line it up approximately to where I would see it if I was really there. Blending it with a little bit of yellow, and a little bit of white. So next, with that same small brush, I'm gonna move into a blue firework. I'm going to mix it with a little bit of white, so it's going to be more of a purple. And again, I am going to mix a little color in so I get diversity. And you really want to be pulling from the inside out. You've seen I haven't been doing that, but that's what gives you the harder, thicker inside and then the thinner edges like a real firework. And again, pulling it down to our water. And this is where, again, you can get really, really creative. So I want to punch up, and I want to add some yellow into the middle of this guy. I'm going to add some white into the middle of this guy. And this purple one looks a little sad, so we need to add definitely some color over here. Okay, so you get the main idea now. I'm going to spend the next 5 minutes just touching it up, and I hope that you follow along. I will kind of explain some of the new steps, but pretty much it's just filling in what we've already done and sharpening it up. So adding a little bit of a streamer. And then I just want to clean up this water. And now I'm going to pull some darker in to the edge of the water, going all the way back to my black. And I'm using my small brush. And I'm going to go all the way out here. And we don't need stars in the water, so I'll just paint on over those. And if you did that as well, this is your chance to kind of clean it up. I'm also going to do that in the mountains. I'm going to get rid of my stars, because we don't have stars in the mountains. And now, I really want them to glow. So I'm going to add more of that highlight with my small brush. And I'm kind of smushing it in. Pulling in black. And we're doing this while it's still wet. Now, I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to add some opulence here and there. Really make it jazzy. And then finally, I'm going to clean out my small brush. Get it nice and clean. And as we all know, there's people that live up in the mountains, so I'm going to create the illusion of homes that are all lit up by just adding a few little dots. Maybe they all live in this valley. And it just adds a little bit of diversity too, a little bit of texture. And you don't have to do this part. I'm going to pull in a little black. I'm gonna come over here. And I'm just using the edge of my brush to create these little tiny dots. And I'm sorry if you hear that. I have no idea what that is. And I feel like this other corner over here is a little bit bare. So I'm gonna add one more little firework. Just a little guy. And again. Make sure that I've got those colors all mimicked from the sky. And voila. And then lastly, just to touch up the water. Your painting is finished, it looks beautiful. I'm so happy that you guys watched this tutorial. The last step is to always sign your painting, so I'm gonna sign this one with love from Vesudio. Keep in mind, you can always create tutorials for your business like this. I'm the Denver rep. Happy 4th of July. Give me a call, I'd love to work with you.